This is Walt Disney World Today. Give us 5 minutes and we'll give you the world.
It's Monday, February 2nd, 2009, and this is episode 521 of Walt Disney World Today. I'm your host, Matt Hunter of StudioCentral.com. Joining me on today's show is none other than Len Testa, co-author of the Unofficial Guide to Walt Disney World. Welcome, Len.
How's it going, Matt?
Outstanding.
Matt, I'd like to say congratulations on your win at American Idol the other day. I thought that was your rendition of...
Swing Low, Sweet Chariot.
Exactly. I was actually going to go with Instant Karma by John Lennon, but yeah, I think your encore was much better. You're right.
I try. Also joining us on today's show is Mike Newell of Mouse World Radio. Mike, one of our listeners alerted me that a couple weeks ago I asked you for a new title and told him to get back to me. So
the lawyers haven't gotten back to me. I might have something by the end of the show.
End of the show, okay. And also joining us today is the fabulous Annette Owens, a manager of customer relations at MEI and Mouse Fan Travel. Welcome, Annette.
Hey, Mike, come up with a title just as long as mine. It'll be the whole show, just introducing all of us.
It needs to roll
and
off the tongue.
Also joining us today is our good friend Tim Krasniewski of DVCnews.com. Welcome back, Tim.
Thank you, Matt. Good to be here.
Glad to have you back here. We're going to be talking today about the wonderful Treehouse Villas that are going to be opening up very soon. For those who aren't aware, Disney's been hard at work at the rebuilding, I guess is the right word, the Treehouse Villas, which will open on June 1st, 2009. And we brought Tim on to talk about it because obviously the Treehouse Villas are going to be DVC Resort. Now, Tim, as I mentioned, they're going to open June 1st. They're a DVC Resort. They're actually going to be part of Saratoga Springs. But for those, there might be some listeners who are saying Treehouse Villas, that sounds familiar. Or more likely, I've never heard of these before. Should I have heard about these before?
Yeah, the Treehouse Villas are actually part of one of the oldest resorts at Walt Disney World. The original Treehouses opened up back in 1975, I believe. So that would make it about the fifth resort at Walt Disney World, maybe in the fourth.
Huh.
And they were part of that corner of Walt Disney World with what would eventually become Downtown Disney and what's Saratoga Springs now. Disney played around with developing it as different types of villas. There was a section called the Fairway Villas, and it was generally known as the Lake Buena Vista area, and you've got the golf course right there as well. So the tree houses they're a part of Walt Disney World history.
Absolutely. I mean, certainly the idea was been around, and then they were closed down, and they were used for a couple different purposes, and they're rebuilding now, which is great. I mean, I think the idea, the concept of them is really neat. Tell us a little bit about what the modern rendition of the Treehouse Villa is going to be.
The Treehouse Villas, the DVC accommodation is going to be, as far as the interior amenities, they're on par with a 2-bedroom villa, if any of your listeners are familiar with that. But they actually have a 3rd bedroom. What you're going to find is it's about 1,100 square feet. There are 2 bedrooms with queen size beds, which is a little bit of a departure for DVC because usually when you get into a room, a unit size that big, there's at least a king size bed. But there are 2 bedrooms with queens, and then a 3rd bedroom that has bunk beds, which is a first for DVC.
Oh. And it also has a pull-out couch and a pull-out chair, right?
Correct, yes. So they will actually sleep a total of 9 occupants, between 2 in each of the queen-size beds, 2 in the bunk beds, 2 on the queen-size sofa bed, and then there's a pull-out sleeper chair in the living room also, which is something they borrowed from the Animal Kingdom villas.
Huh.
This is going to be great for families with traveling with the in-laws or grandparents or something. This is nice.
The only thing that kind of bothered me about it, I mean, it sleeps 9 people, which is fantastic. I mean, it's great to have Disney, if anything, needs accommodations that sleep
9
people. Yeah.
Why? Well, okay, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, well, here's the problem. I mean, even if you get a good group, coming with you, and I know the Newell sometimes travels with a large group down there. Here's the problem, though. 9 people, theoretically, right? Only 2 bathrooms, and 1 bathroom is the master bathroom. So that's really only supposed to be for 2 people. So you've really got potentially, and this is in theory, 7 people competing for 1 bathroom.
That is true. Yes.
Yeah. So it's got a little bit of that Fort Wilderness cabin feel to it, if you will.
Make sure to bring more boys than girls. Right there. Bring more boys.
Just
a lot of trees outside.
I was going to make the joke. I let it go. Frankly, I'm surprised Len didn't make that joke, but
I was getting around to it.
Now, Tim, is this correct? Also, that the Treehouse Villas will, if there are DVC members who are interested in this, it'll cost the same amount of points as a 2-bedroom villa at Saratoga Springs.
Yes, that is correct.
Cool. Now
that I found that a little surprising myself. I think that was
think too much, too little.
I was, in a sense, the accommodation is sort of between. In my mind, it's a little bit better than a normal 2-bedroom villa because you've got the extra privacy of the 3rd bedroom. But it's not quite a 3-bedroom grand villa, which is quite a bit more square footage. So I'm a little surprised DVC didn't price this in the middle there somewhere, but I guess you could say pleasantly surprised.
Let's talk a little bit about the design of the Treehouse Villa. I think this is the coolest thing. And Tim, why don't you explain to our listeners exactly how it's set up? Because I think it's hard for some people to visualize what it's going to look like exactly. Because you see Treehouse Villas, and some people think of something that's going to look eerily similar to the Swiss Family Treehouse in the Magic Kingdom, and other people think of the rickety old thing that their parents built them in their backyard, once upon a time.
Yeah, the Treehouse Villas are actually elevated off the ground. I'm not sure exactly how high. It looks like they're probably a good 8 to 10 feet off the ground. The land that they sit on is designated as wetlands. Being a layman, I couldn't tell you a whole lot more about it than just that. But that has to do with why they had to elevate the construction, because it's a floodplain, and technically it could flood in that area depending upon the weather and so forth. But that's actually one of the reasons why the original Treehouse Villas stayed in limbo there for a while, as you were talking about, because with some of the Wetlands Protection Acts, it sort of handcuffed Disney in terms of what they could do with refurbish. They could maintain the original Treehouse Villas, but there were some restrictions on as far as what they could do to rebuild in that area. They couldn't have bulldozed them and put up a 15-story high-rise, just because of the Wetlands Protection Act kind of prohibits that. But the way they got around that is kind of interesting. The original design of the Treehouse Villas from the 70s actually had a bedroom and I believe a laundry room on the ground floor, actually,
really,
right on that concrete foundation. And there was a spiral staircase inside, in addition to the wooden staircase on the outside. But you could get up and down to that bedroom by this sort of 70s spiral staircase.
You know what they needed? Fireman pole.
That'd be great.
And a giant spring at the bottom. Like to get you back up.
Yeah, exactly.
All right.
The decor of it is interesting. I was talking to some people who've been in them and trying to get a sense of what they're going to look like. We've certainly seen some concept art of it, and to me, Tim, and I'm interested to hear what your opinion of it is. It kind of looks more Wilderness Lodge-y than Port Orleans Riverside, Alligator Bayou-ish. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. Yeah, I would agree with that. It's a very rustic feel. They're building I don't think we mentioned this yet. There's 60 tree houses. They're all standalones. So there's no massive parking lots. I believe there's going to be accommodations for parking vehicles right outside of each unit. But it's going to be a very spread out area. It's almost going to be like a campground in a sense, with these structures 10 feet up in the air, spaced out throughout the property.
Yeah, absolutely.
If I look at the way that they're constructed, in the stilts and everything, it sort of looks like a North Carolina or one of the Carolina beach homes, like on stilts. It's really, it's not an unfamiliar architecture style to people who've seen those. What about the deck?
How big would be underneath? Sorry.
Yeah, no. You would think that you'd park underneath. Yeah, exactly, just to get out of the elements, but maybe not. How big is the deck?
I don't know exactly how big the deck is. One of the permits that Disney filed with Orange County when they originally began this showed a table that would actually had 8 chairs surrounding it.
Wow.
3 on each side and 2 on the ends. So it looks like it's going to be a pretty good size. I can't tell from some of the images that I've seen so far if that might have gotten scaled down, but you should have a pretty good little deck out there.
Yeah, we'll put on the show notes in this week's episode rather to some of the concept art that Tim has at dvcnews.com, so you can take a look at it. There's concept art of it that you can take a look at and kind of get a better idea of what we're talking about exactly. Also, I've heard that 4 of the units are going to be handicap accessible, which means there'll be a ramp over there. And,
yes, they'll have switchback ramps to make it up to the second floor. It's the way the land is over there. It's not a flat piece of land. It's not consistent. So I'm sure that was one of the other challenges in building this was the Americans with Disabilities Act from the early 90s. A lot of people had questioned how Disney would ever be able to refurbish these and reopen them to guests, having to make them compliant with the Disabilities Act. But with the terrain being the way it is there, I'm sure it was pretty easy to pick, the 4 units that were most conducive to, putting a ramp in there.
Absolutely. Now, Tim, you obviously having a website about DVC, you've got an interesting, I guess, feel of the pulse of the DVC community, or at least the ones that frequent your site. What kind of reaction are you getting to this? Because I'm wondering if perhaps, if the Treehouse Villas are being overshadowed somewhat by the Contemporary. Are people excited about them, or are they more distracted by the big shiny thing by the Magic Kingdom?
Well, it's undeniable that they appeal to different markets. But I think from what I've heard, the response has been overwhelmingly positive, because you've got Saratoga Springs, a resort that DVC spent 5 to 6 years selling, has 800 or 900 units in it, and now all of those owners have a new option available to them. So yes, DVC is reopening sales. They just announced last week, because these new units mean more points to sell at Saratoga. But just in terms of the large group of owners that are already at that resort, just giving them that other option, they don't have to pay anything additional to use the points that they have to stay there. They get that priority booking window to reserve these units, and with there only being 60 of them, they could be in short supply at certain times.
Absolutely. I thought, one of the things that people who bought into Saratoga before the Contemporary, was announced, or more likely, really known that it was going to be coming, I think some people kind of felt slighted a little bit, like, ooh, I bought into Saratoga, but I really would have preferred to buy into the Contemporary. And sure. I think really having this announcement be, the Treehouse Villas and be part of Saratoga, I think it's really, if you bought into Saratoga, I really think that if there was a stock value to buy your Saratoga points, I think it definitely rose, simply because, like you just pointed out, Tim, that the demand for it's going to be much greater, since you've already got that, comes right in there. You're an owner, basically, and the place isn't even open yet.
Right, exactly. Yeah, I think there's a lot of people that are looking forward to that.
Something that was really interesting, and Len, I wanted to know your thoughts about this, as an unrelated to DVC here, but as I understand it, there's going to be no restaurant to this area. I don't want to call it a resort, because
they're going to give you a rifle in a
I think
in a fillet knife.
George Foreman? What?
I think what they're doing is they're just going to be shut. I mean, if you want food, you're going to have to either go to Downtown Disney or back to Saratoga.
Yeah,
the old Key West,
they really
aren't
right there. They aren't that far from Saratoga. I mean, Saratoga Springs is already spread out over a pretty sizable area, and as it would happen, the carriage house where the restaurants are and so forth is sort of shaded to the side of the resort where the tree houses are being put up. Depending upon where you are, because with 60 tree houses, they're spread over a pretty good plot of land over there. If you're at, I would say 80% of the tree houses are going to be just as close to the restaurants as any other part of Saratoga Springs.
Is it walking distance, you think?
It's going to have to be.
Anything's walking distance if you have the time, right? But
well, they have. What I've heard is that they're going to have a boat dock added, so on the Sassagoula River over there. That's one way. And I think one of the things is that they're going to have bus service. Think something along the lines of the bus service you have at Fort Wilderness. You get from the settlement to the outpost and other places in between. That'll go between Saratoga and the Treehouse Villas.
Yeah, I haven't heard any specifics about transportation yet. Saratoga already has 5 bus stops, I believe. And there's 2 more there's 2 bus stops being added to the Treehouse area.
Yep.
My assumption would be that they would just blend it into the route, so you'd have a total of 7 stops there for Saratoga. And in theory, you could, if the bus route would stop at the Treehouse Villas first, you could board any theme park bus and get off, further on in the route in the middle of Saratoga.
Okay.
Across the street from the restaurants and so forth.
Tim, are they adding any amenities to the Treehouse Villas, like pools or things like that?
There's going to be a pool in the area. It's again, because of the restrictions in there, they're going to be refurbishing the pool that was part of the Treehouse Villas. It's not going to be a Stormalong Bay clone pool.
Uh-huh.
But, it'll be more along what Disney calls the quiet pools or the leisure pools. It's going to be a fairly plain area, but there's going to be a hot tub there. And so.
Well, that brings up an interesting point, Tim. You mentioned the pool as being something they're refurbishing from the old thing. Is there anything else that's going to be brought back, if you will, from the old resort, or reused, if that's the right word?
Other than the things that we've already mentioned, I'm not aware of anything. I believe the boat dock is new, and there will be boats running. DVC has said there will be boats running between the Treehouse boat dock, and Saratoga has a boat dock, and presumably over to Downtown Disney as well. I don't know what the schedule is going to be like there, and how useful that's going to be as a mode of transportation.
Mm-hmm.
But there's going to be a boat dock there, and then we talked about the 2 bus stops and the pool as well.
Okay. What else, Tim? What else have you got over there about that we need to know about the Treehouse Villas?
DVC members may be interested in knowing that reservations for the Treehouse Villas, if you're an owner at Saratoga Springs, they will start taking reservations on February 8th.
Ooh, just in time.
Which is just around the corner.
That's right.
And that'll be the normal guideline for owners at a resort, is they can book up to 11 months ahead of time. So that'll be kind of a catch-up period, since they're opening on June 1st, like you said. As of February 8th, whatever is 11 months in the future, owners at Saratoga Springs will be able to begin booking at that point. And owners at other DVC resorts will have to wait 2 weeks later until February 22nd to begin booking.
And I'm not sure if you know the answer to this, Tim, but is there an opportunity? When would people, non-DVC members, be able to rent a villa? When pay cash, just like if you would stay at any other DVC resort.
I don't know the answer to that question. I haven't seen any pricing on them either, so I have no idea how Disney's going to price them or when they're going to make them available.
Yeah, and I don't suppose you've heard any prices or anything like that.
No.
Okay. Well, perfect. I want to mention also that if you're interested, we'll post links in the show notes, but if you're going to be at Disney World, you can actually see what's been described to me as a dollhouse size model of a villa at Saratoga Springs. You can actually stop in between 5 and 7 p.m. at Saratoga Springs on any day, and they'll have the ability for you to go take a look at the models if you're interested in that. If anything, I'm pretty excited about this. I think the great thing about the Contemporary is this is going to float right under the radar, and it's going to allow someone like me, non-DVC owner, to be able, I think, really sneak in there. I think availability is going to be nice for me, which is good for me. Len, what kind of anticipation do you have for the Treehouse Villas?
I'm excited. So, it's been a long time since Disney's opened up a completely brand new resort, and it's a new place for me to stay. So I'm excited.
Absolutely. Newell, do you have any plans yet to stay here?
I need to find 8 people to have a party with. So okay.
I'm thinking live show from one of these things. What do you think?
That's right. You just get the points and
you hear the rifle going off in the background. Hey, they got us dinner.
This is like a step towards staying on Tom Sawyer Island for you, isn't it?
Exactly. Like my perennial attempt to get a nighttime visit out of the Magic Kingdom, right?
Well, Tim, thanks so much for all the information. Really appreciate it.
Oh, you're quite welcome.
And that's it for us today. If you want to find our older episodes, read our show notes, or send us your comments, visit the WDW Today website at www.wdwtoday.com. For Len Testa, Mike Scopa, Mike Newell, and the fabulous Annette Owens, and Tim Krasnewski, I'm Matt Hotchberg. We'll see you on the next show.
Stupid Judy, stupid energy.
This has been a production of Mouse World Radio.